Technically, English isn't my first language, and neither is Croatian. I'm just terrible in communication, and what am I doing on YouTube? Hey everyone, welcome back to one of my financially secure episodes. It's the end of the year. It's definitely making me take a look back and reflect on everything that has happened. And so I thought I would sit down and kind of discuss some of the things that I've learned paying off my debt in 2023. And by paying off, I mean I'm almost there in terms of my consumer debt, my student loan. It's going to be a little while longer, but my major anxiety stems around my consumer debt. So just to quickly recap, if you don't want to watch my other videos, if you do, I'll link the playlist up here. I had around $70,000 worth of debt, student loan, consumer debt combined, family debt also combined. I've paid off my family, whatever I've owed them, and I am down to about $7,000-ish on my line of credit from like $22,000, and my student loan was around 50 or so thousand, and now it's like 45-ish. But you get the idea. I've paid off majority of my consumer debt, and it has been one of like the biggest, I don't want to say struggle, but like most impactful thing that's happened in 2023 that's like kind of shaped my life and like who I am as a person right this second. So it's been a completely transformative experience, if I do so say myself. And it's definitely taught me lots of valuable lessons about money, discipline, patience, and like priorities. One of the biggest things is budgeting. I, for the life of me, never thought I could stick to a budget, but I have found You Need a Budget to really help me stay consistent. There is a bit of a learning curve to it, but I highly recommend it if you struggle with imagining how much money you're going to be bringing in and allotting that. Like I could not do estimates. I could not do budgeting like estimate and then actual. I always needed like a zero-based budget, and I didn't realize until I tried You Need a Budget. And there's like tons of communities on Reddit and Facebook where you can ask questions, like, but once you get it, it just makes everything go so smoothly because I don't feel restricted at all. If I want to buy something, all I have to do is just plan for it. And that's where learning budgeting skills has just completely changed the trajectory of how fast I've been paying off my consumer debt. I'll say my consumer debt. It's something that I've managed to stay the most consistent out of this whole journey. So like learning how to allocate my funds efficiently and then be able to prioritize what's important, what needs to be paid off, and living within my means, but also not feeling stressed out about it. I've realized, especially living within my means, because I've done You Need a Budget before I started making a good amount of money doing dental hygiene. Learning about budgeting skills now, making a good amount of money versus trying to budget when I didn't have enough money to cover my expenses. So another thing I learned in terms of budgeting is budgeting now with a good income versus trying to budget when you don't make good money and you're stressed out and you don't know how to cover your expenses and you're in debt. There was times where I kind of beat myself down about it a lot, being like, why couldn't I do this earlier? And I know I could have, but I really would have had to be in like a good mindset to be able to completely focus on paying off debt and having that consistent income. It just leads to this like whole cycle or like whole other path on the road, because I knew that for me personally to be able to pay off this debt and live the life that I wanted to, I needed more money. Like I needed to make more money. So I decided for myself to go into more debt, getting student loans so that I can live the lifestyle that I'm getting to live right now. And that was the choice I made. I didn't have kids. I don't have kids. I don't plan to have kids anytime soon, if ever. And my life is all planned, like just me on my own. If someone wants to join that in the future, great for me. But I'm dealing with what I have right now in front of me, and that's just me, myself, and I. I really had to think about that when I was trying to budget previously, and it made it really difficult. And what I'm really trying to get to is, if you're not at the point where you're making a lot of money like me or more like me, like, or you're in school and you're just waiting for that big paycheck or that first paycheck and you're wondering like, how are these other people paying off debt and I can't? It's because there's different things that you know, we all had to sacrifice and change about in our life to get there. So if you're not willing to go back to school or not in the position where you can go back to school to make more money, you can't hold off, like you need to make that money immediately, then maybe changing your budget is like a better option, right? But for me, I had the opportunity to go back to school and that worked out for me. And that's the way that I chose my path. I feel like if that's not your path, that's not the way that you can go, you know, then something else in your budget has to change, or your mindset has to change about your budgeting. You either have to come to terms that it's going to take longer than you'd like. If you want it to be paid down faster, then you have to change things about how you're spending. Like there's a give and a take, whichever way you look at it. But it's definitely a lot harder to pay off debt and stay consistent when you are making a lot less money and inconsistently, like I was before, and with ADHD. Undiagnosed ADHD, unknown ADHD. I just beat myself up over and over about it because I thought it was a me thing, and it was, but it was something that I couldn't control because I didn't know what was wrong with me. I just thought like, why aren't I like other people? Why can't I save money? Why am I constantly just blowing money on random crap? And it's because I was looking for a dopamine hit. And had I known that that's what my body and my brain was wanting to do, I might be able to figure out something better, like a better method of working around that kind of thing, right? Because hyper-focusing on paying off your debt only works for so long, and then you burn out and you lose interest in it, which happened to me multiple times. This leads to learning about financial discipline. I never thought that I had financial discipline before, and I'm realizing now that I do have it, and I'm in more control of my money and being able to distinguish between like my wants and my needs. Just essentially being more intentional with my purchases. I realized one month I was spending too much money on food, so I completely cut one of my categories on my you need a budget. What I ended up doing was stopped funding eating out category, and then I left my grocery category the same. So before, for example, I can't remember exactly how much I was inputting in the eating out category, but before I would do like, let's say $400 for the month for groceries, and then maybe another $100 to $200 for eating out. And I was like, I'm using up way too much money. I stopped funding my eating out category, and now I basically use the $400 that I've set aside for just groceries. And if I decide to go through a drive-through or get Starbucks or something, I will take it out of that grocery fund and assign it to my eating out. That way I can keep track of how much I'm eating out, but I haven't allotted that extra money to just sit there. And so far I've been doing that for I think 3 months now, 2-3 months, and it's been working out great for me. I also got a bunch of gift cards for Christmas for grocery stores and stuff like that, so you can never go wrong with a gift card to the grocery store in this day and age, I feel like. Also learned emergency fund, how important that is. I always knew it was important, but working a job that's very hard on your body just brings it to the forefront even more. It's one of my, I don't know what the word is, like it's a trauma response, or like for me to not feel panic, I need that emergency fund, and it's not as big as I'd like it to be. They normally say around 3 months, I think, of expenses emergency, but I would like, you know, a full year. Like when you get hurt and you're not able to work physically, it's taxing on you, and mentally it's taxing on you, and you know, sometimes you just need more than 3 months off, right? So I just want to make sure that I have all my expenses covered. It will take me a little bit, and I'm not going to stop funding my down payment for that just to fill it, if that makes any sense. Basically, I want my emergency fund, but I have a decent amount in it now, roughly around almost $3,000 to cover at least a month and a bit. I'm slowly adding to that emergency fund until I feel comfortable with seeing that number, and then any other extra number or any other extra amount of money that I have will go into investment and stuff in the future. But I am still allocating money towards my line of credit to pay off my debt as much as I can. Once that's done, then it's gonna go to allocating it to my down payment category, and I'll talk about more about that once I get done with paying off my line of credit. Persistence and patience has definitely been my biggest struggle. It's been something I've been thinking about for the past couple months for sure, about how long I've stuck with this. YouTube, like just having a YouTube channel, not that I was ever consistent, but just I think how long have 2019 I think is when I posted my first like video. So like 4 years of doing this. YouTube was like, so up until recently YouTube was like the only thing I was super consistent on, in terms of I never completely fully gave up. I took months off obviously, but I was always able to come back to it. And I think that's because I never relied on it for money. I've only just started making money off it, and just barely anything really. It was something that I was persistent, not consistent, but I kept coming back to it. And starting this journey of recording me paying off my debt has definitely aided me and helped me in continuing to pay off debt and not get off track and defeated and stuff like that. There's like other factors too. Motivation to get out of here, get out of living at my parents' house, of course, is another big factor. Persistence and patience has definitely been, I want to say, something I've always struggled with. When I want something, I want it now. And that's how I feel with getting a down payment for a house. I'm just like, what do I do? You know, I just spent months talking about how I'm never going to work 6 days a week. And I'm just so desperate to get out of here and make more money that I'm like, okay, I am going to try and work 7 days a week. Like my brain is just goes in waves, like it goes up where it says like, I want to work all the time. Ideally, like if I could handle it, I would love working every day. Just something to do, make money, but unfortunately it's wear and tear on my body and mentally just not feasible. So I'm having to make do and try and figure out a different way to keep going on with this goal of paying off money and making do with the paycheck that I get. And if it's, you know, less than what it was before, You Need a Budget has helped me figure out that and has kept me afloat. And I've really surprised myself with just how resilient I have been and determined to keep going with paying off my debt and YouTube. Before getting into being really focused on paying off debt, I knew a little bit about financial literacy. Technically, English isn't my first language, and neither is Croatian. I'm just terrible in communication, and what am I doing on YouTube? Learning about money has definitely skyrocketed. Anyway, learning about money has definitely increased this past year, just because the finish line is almost there. Like I can see it, and so my brain is kind of like, okay, once you're done paying off your debt, what's the next thing? Oh, you're gonna buy a house? Okay, how are we gonna do that? How are we gonna save our money? How are we gonna make your money work for you more? And so I've been in a lot of financial groups on Facebook. There is if I can remember the name of it, let's see. It's on my phone, which I can't look because I'm recording. Anyway, there's 2 Facebook groups that I'm in. There's a Canadian one. I'll leave like the name here. It's like Financial Independence for Females or something like that. So if you're Canadian, I highly recommend joining that one, because there is a lot of well-educated women helping other women, and you can always ask for advice on like what you would do, and they give out really good advice, and you're also learning. It's a very good one. And then there is a another one that's there's more Americans in there. I joined that one first, and then someone plugged in their Canadian version of that, so I joined that. But they're both really great, and it's really interesting to also hear from other people's experiences and questions and learn from them. Highly, highly, highly recommend looking into it. And then there's also a FIRE Canadian group that I'm part of, Financial Independence Retire Early. And then there's 2 podcasts that I listen to. Recently, I've been binge listening to this podcast called Money Feels. 2 Canadian girls, at least I think they're both Canadian, but they're based in Alberta. They're very, very informative, and I just like their approach towards money. It's not about making you feel guilty in terms of how you spend your money. Like if you want to get Botox, you want to get the hair extensions, like they're all about making it work for you. And I don't know, it's just completely changed my view on some things after I've listened to a podcast. I'm still going through, and I've learned so much, especially about there's like a coast inspire financial independence, like different, just so much I've learned from them, and I highly recommend them. And then there is, oh my god, what's the other one? It is the More Money podcast with Jessica Morehouse. Highly recommend that podcast as well. She's Canadian. She has a lot of guests on from all over North America. Because I drive so much for work, I've just been listening to these podcasts a lot. And then there's also the iced coffee hour that I like listening to, because they also interview other influencers and YouTubers who they have on as a guest speaker. If you don't know him, he also talks about finances and real estate. He's more like real estate kind of guy on YouTube. Since listening to all of those and watching those videos, my financial literacy has just increased exponentially this year. And it's because, like I've said, my finish line, like to paying off my consumer debt, is coming up so close that my brain is letting me think about other opportunities on how to make my money work for me better. So those are just some of the few things that I've learned about paying off my debt in 2023. Let me know down in the comments below what you yourself has learned. Why can't I talk? Let me know in the comments down below what you yourself have learned this past year. Any goals for 2024 in terms of money wise? Let me know. Always interested in hearing from you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.